Great, invincible, second in the world. The power of the army is one of the national myths of modern Russia. Over decades of successful PR, the Kremlin managed to convince the whole world of the strengths of its own armed forces. However, now that Ukraine, with moderate supplies of Western weapons, has eliminated almost 150,000 Russian invaders and destroyed more than 20,000 pieces of their equipment, no one believes in the myth anymore. And after multiple war crimes, Western speakers are increasingly demonstrating open contempt for Moscow on international platforms. One of the reasons for the catastrophic defeats of Moscow on the battlefield was the total decline of its industry. It turned out that there is almost nothing domestic in domestic production, and all the technologies that already had no analogues in the world turned out to be another fake to intimidate the West. As a result, participants in international non-military projects left Russia, so it lost another Russian pride: the space industry. South Korea has withdrawn from the satellite launch project shared with Moscow.
Even if the war is over, it won't go back to the old times. I am sure Moscow will try to re-enter the market once and worse over, given its large space industry cannot be sustained only with domestic demand. Lee Chang-jin, professor of aerospace engineering at Konkuk University, Seoul, in a commentary for the Japan Times.
The energy blackmail attempt on Europe also failed. Russia's share in the EU gas market fell from more than a third to 8.5% over the year, and Germany, which was more than half dependent on Russian gas, has now abandoned it completely. An attempt to blackmail Europe with fuel only led to the strengthening of the EU, the adoption of antitrust laws, and the development of green energy. Russia itself has lost a third of all export earnings due to the oil embargo. According to experts, Moscow has overestimated its importance in the global economy.
The Russian economy used to be not very vast even before, within a bit more than $3 trillion of GDP per year. It will shrink and decrease even more now. We already see that due to the fall in oil prices, due to the insane decrease in demand for their gas, processes have already begun leading to the devaluation of the ruble. That is, the ruble will devalue in dollar terms. Both wages and GDP per person will decrease.
The only ones who still refuse to acknowledge the complete failure of Russia on all fronts are the Russians themselves. After all, then you will have to honestly say to yourself that the criminal policy of the Putin government, which was carried out with the tacit consent of the people, led to such an outcome. And the Kremlin knows this and sells the idea of a besieged fortress to the people.
Russia will go into isolationism. The rhetoric of the besieged fortress will intensify. Putin will rally the elites with the fear of being persecuted around the world, what we in fact have already seen in any of his speeches. Further, there will be even more sovereignty. We take it in quotation marks. Even more independence, own way, and accordingly spirituality. The authorities will slowly try to replace for people fridge and TV with propaganda, slogans about some sort of mission, about some great mission, some goals for which it is worth tightening one's belts. So far, there is no talk of belts. This is the next step.
At the same time as the world abandons Russia, Ukraine takes its well-deserved place as a true regional leader. With heroic defense, the Ukrainian people prove to the world that value of humanistic and democratic ideals: freedom, honor and independence. Reported by Pavel Steinmach, Danilo Kobza, UATV News.